I didn't record that part, by the way. I'll start recording now. I'm Ed Snowden. I'm 32 years old. I used to work for the NSA, but now I work as the director of the Freedom of the Press Foundation.
Is today's technology good or bad for democracy?
That's a really complex question. It's a really good one. Look, nobody's going to argue that there's not a lot of places where technology does hurt. When we look at the context of mass surveillance, where suddenly information is being collected about all of us all of the time without regard to any individual criminal suspicion, right? People are starting to be afraid of sharing minority opinions. If you're in the majority, right, you're safe. But if you say, I don't think that's right, I don't think that's a good idea, we should do this instead, and it's really unpopular, that could lose you friends or worse. Some parts of technology are terrible. There are days when, I think that things are pretty bad. But there are also moments that I see that things could get really good. And I think technology actually will improve things over time. For example, let's take energy. Right now, we got to drive our car to a gas station. We got to pay for oil. There's less and less oil every day because we're pumping it out of the ground faster than it's being created through geologic processes. But we're developing new technologies, solar power, wind power. We're developing the battery technologies that allow us to transport this from the middle of the desert where the sun's always shining to the places where it's always cloudy and we don't really see it. Which means it's going to get cheaper and cheaper to fill up to the point that eventually you no longer really notice it. Then it's going to be your whole house. Then it's going to be your whole city. And this is just talking about energy. Things are getting better in education, where a kid who might not go to the best school can attend a lecture from the best professor in the world in the subject that night for free online. When we look at the progress of technology in our medicine, in our science, suddenly things that were in prior generations completely incurable are now things that we don't even notice. Generations before, these wouldn't have existed and I would have been a blind man. But today, I can live like anybody else. I can participate. I can live a free and fulfilled and happy, healthy life. And it's only getting better. So what does this mean when we collect all of these things together? What technology can ultimately provide, if we make sure that it works for us rather than against us, is liberty. People are more liberated to be creative. People are more liberated to share. People are more liberated to engage in their democracy and ultimately create things that they wouldn't be able to do if they were bagging groceries and working 3 jobs because they have no other choice, because they got to fill their car up at a pump where there's less oil and it costs more each year. And look, life isn't perfect. It's never going to be, but it doesn't need to be. When we think about what life in our democracy is, what it's about, and what the costs of it are, the cost of democracy is uncertainty. We don't know where things are going to go, but we do know, ultimately, we're the ones who will be deciding.